kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do.
How?
You set them up.
Does the Bureau practice entrapment a lot?
And we get really close. We call it a nudge.
A nudge.
A nudge. Sometimes you just gotta give them a quick little, just to see what happens. Sometimes you light the fuse and just wait for it to follow. Nothing like putting out a fake social media thing to like really get people mad.
Alex Jones.
Yeah, so we were after him.
You are?
He did what we wanted.
Which was what?
Took his money away, chopped his legs off.
If you trust the government, and I don't mean our government, I mean any government. If you trust any government anywhere, you are doing yourself probably the most amazing disservice you possibly could ever do. You don't have to be some sort of right-wing conspiracy theorist to believe that your government does not have your best interests at heart. You don't even have to believe me. Just believe them.
Gavin Oblenus is a contracting officer at the CIA. Oblenus worked for the FBI in 2021 and 2022 in the San Diego office, moved on to Homeland Security where he conducted asylum interviews at the southern border, and now works for the CIA managing multi-million-dollar contracts across government agencies and private sector vendors.
I work for, how do I put this without, I'm not supposed to tell people kind of job. If I say intelligence, what do you think?
CIA?
Yep.
Oh, you work for the CIA?
I do.
That's incredible.
I'm a contracting officer.
That's amazing.
So I deal a lot with like different agencies. We're contracting with like Director of National Intelligence to do stuff. We do Navy, Army, any of them really. I just FBI. I used to work for the FBI, so they threw the FBI at me. They're like, "Here, you used to work there." Oh, I'm permanent. I'm staff. Yeah.
Good. Well, why do they call it contracting?
Because I do the contract authority. I do all the legal contracts. I fly out to vendors and evaluate them. I love the agency.
Good for you.
I like the Bureau, too. The Bureau was a lot of fun. I got to do a lot of cool stuff with the Bureau. I was the guy in the back of the truck in the van.
Oblenus spoke to an Undercover Sound Investigations reporter about his work experience involving near entrapment and his employer's involvement with political commentator Alex Jones's legal battles.
As long as the Bureau is able to progress far enough to be able to put pro-lifers in jail whenever they want.
Yeah.
You think that's on the agenda?
You can kind of put anyone in jail if you know what to do.
How?
You set them up. You create the situation to where they have no choice but to act on their impulse. And once they act on that impulse, then we call that entrapment. It's a fine line.
Does the Bureau practice entrapment a lot?
And we get really close.
Not officially.
No. We get as close as we can. We get as close as we can to it without doing it.
So they can entrap some of these pro-lifers into doing things that they don't...
Depending, yeah. We call it a nudge.
A nudge.
A nudge. Sometimes you just gotta give them a quick little, just to see what happens, right?
And how does that happen?
You put a post out there, or you have someone fake profile, say something that triggers, that we know is going to trigger them, right? Like, we already know your history. If we're to that point, we already know everything about it.
We already know everything about you. Just listen to what this guy's talking about, as if it's normal. He's talking about it like it's normal and it's noble. But he's talking about the federal government influencing people to commit crimes that they would not have committed if not for the nudge from the federal government. And if you think this stuff doesn't happen, just take out your phone and Google Mateo Ventura. Mateo is a mentally handicapped child. Well, he's an adult now, but an undercover FBI agent essentially groomed this kid from the time he was 16 years old, worked him for years. And then when the kid turned 18, influenced him to join ISIS, and then they arrested him. No matter what your beliefs are, no matter what planet you're on, that is not okay. That is not even remotely, even possibly okay. And here's the thing. If they're going to manipulate a mentally handicapped 16-year-old kid, and if they're going to weaponize against a former president and current presidential candidate, both times that he's run, then what do you think your chances really are? I mean, do you think you have a chance? And do you think that the saviors of democracy even care?
So you're like, oh, this will piss them off. Oh. Sometimes you light the fuse and just wait for it to follow, right?
Like a rally. Like a, oh. So when a rally happens, that's sometimes the Bureau behind it?
Yeah, sometimes. Nothing like putting out a fake social media thing to like really get people mad. Post fake news. Sometimes it's it's not fake. It's embellished a little bit.
Who would be like a big influencer that you're after? I don't know, I don't even know these names, like a Fox News person or like a Tucker Carlson or like.
Oh, I'm sure he's on the radar, right? You always want the biggest and loudest. Like that, what was his name? The one that said the Sandy Hook didn't happen. It was all
Alex Jones.
Yeah, so we were after him.
You are?
Hardcore.
Are you still after him? Why?
Because he's broke. He got found guilty and had to pay like $100 million.
So why were you after him?
We're not anymore.
Just to get the money from him?
Yeah.
Was that court case used? Was that a CIA
Sure it
thing?
was.
That was an agency thing?
Well, actually, it was a defamation case, so it's a civil, not government. But we were looking at all of his followers, commenting, following, like, who's that going to lead us to, right?
He says they were targeting all of Alex Jones's followers, man, wondering who that would lead them to. This is an FBI, now CIA agent, talking about the government targeting Alex Jones and wondering which of his followers they can target next. Now, obviously, this is just a loudmouth federal employee just spouting off, right? There's nothing that proves anything this guy says is true. That said, if you look at actual history, if you look at actual facts, there sure as hell isn't anything that debunks what he's saying either.
So even though it's technically not our, well, not the agency definitely, but the Bureau, for instance, yeah, that's not our purview. It's a civil matter. But since they got all this access to his stuff and it's there, what can we go find?
And did you find anything?
I can't tell you
Oh,
if we did. But, so, you know, it's just kind of like, you know, realize the opportunity that you have.
So with Alex Jones, you were watching him long before anything ended up happening.
Probably. It wasn't my office, but, I mean, we would have been well aware of what he was doing.
And the goal with him was what? Just to bankrupt him?
Pretty much. And we let the families do it.
And what?
We let the families do it.
Were they encouraged to do that by the Bureau? Like nudged?
We don't encourage people,
But like,
we just say there's no federal statute being broken, but you do have the option for a civil case, and it's a pretty good case.
nice.
In our opinion.
So, that makes so much sense. I have a cousin who's a lawyer, so that's a lot of these cases. They're kind of encouraged by the FBI.
Yeah, like there's nothing federal law we can do, but civilly, we can go at them that way and chop his legs off.
And they did. Yeah. So the FBI was happy.
We didn't care. We were like, oh.
Basically, the citizens did your job.
Yeah.
Wow, so you can encourage a civil lawsuit.
Not encourage. Educate.
What can you do with people like Alex Jones now? Because he's still out there.
Yeah.
He's still chirping.
He can chirp.
They still watching him?
Yeah.
Why?
He did what we wanted.
Which was what?
Took his money away. We shut him up for a while. You're never going to shut him up permanently.
How, well, unless you put him in prison.
But again, he didn't do anything to go to prison.
Well, here is the $1 million question then. If all of this is true, and we have no reason to assume that it's not, definitely need to track this guy's career, which I can guess is basically over, but would be curious to watch to see how real this really is. But if any of this is even remotely true, then why is the government targeting people who aren't doing anything, in his words, besides thinking in a way that might be uncomfortable to some of the powerful? And what is it about those people's ideas that elicits attention from law enforcement that even believes you haven't committed a crime?
Being ignorant is not a crime, though it should.
It is. I mean, what you could bring a nudge.
He did inside a riot, like Cheeto. He didn't encourage people to go shoot people. He didn't do anything.
Additionally, Oblenus states that he knows and works with FBI agents who were undercover in the January 6th Capitol riot, estimating about 20 field agents were there undercover. While Oblenus notes that they were not involved in violence, this appears to be the first admission of undercover FBI agents in attendance.
I thought you said that there were FBI agents in the crowd at J6.
There always are when there's a big protest in D.C. Just in case it gets out of hand like that. But there wasn't enough to turn that tide. I mean, I'm talking they maybe have 20. You needed 1,000 to get rid of that crowd.
So they had like, that was just 20?
Yeah, just to go through and observe and see what they can hear, you know, that kind of thing.
Wow. Yeah, definitely. They needed 1,000 at least.
Well,
Wow.
see, that's also Capitol Police jurisdiction. They're in charge.
So the
Why they
FBI,
didn't have more on hand, I don't know.
the Bureau didn't really want people knowing that they were in the crowd. Mm-hmm. That would be overstepping their
A
bounds.
little bit.
Do people know that?
Why?
Did people know that the Bureau was in the crowd?
Nope, and probably never will.
You know agents that were there? Mm-hmm. Really?
They work for the agency now.
No one knows that agents were there, and they probably never will. Famous last words for sure, but he's right. We don't know if agents were there, and we don't really know if they were there, how many were there. But I think it is pretty safe, pretty logical to believe that this guy's telling the truth. I believe agents were there. The question is, why were they there? What were they doing there? Were they helping or were they hurting? What side were they on? This is only part one of this guy's reporting. I think it's going to be pretty sharp to see part two. But, what does it mean? What does it change? I don't know. I think it means that we're finally owed some real answers. And finally, I think the American media needs to stop painting anyone who will ask a question as some sort of conspiracy theorist and start asking questions themselves. But I don't know. I mean, what will it change? I hope that it at least changes some people's willingness to even question the established narrative. And really, not just this narrative, man, all narratives. Because here's the thing, if cracks start appearing around one subject, then it's only logical to question other subjects as well. But anyway, interesting stuff. I thought you guys would appreciate seeing that. Thought you deserved to see that. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. And if you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next.